Gary, the journey back and the recovery post Carlisle, somewhere near the Arctic Circle, how's it gone?
It's it's still early days. We're only on Thursday morning, aren't we? So the lads obviously got back very late on Tuesday, and hopefully, we got them sleeping in their own beds. So they've had yesterday to recover. So now they've got to come in. We'll do the review this morning, and then straight from the review we'll be going out on the training pitch to think about Doncaster, and that's how we do it. And there's a little bit of juggling going on when you think, what do we need to do? Sometimes if you do nothing, they get lethargic. Sometimes if you do too much, they get leggy. So we have to work out what's best for them, because we didn't have our best game on Tuesday, even though we should have been 2-0 up against the the momentum of the game, because they were very, very good at just putting the ball into our box. And on the stats, we could see how many times, more than anyone ever against us, has put that ball just in the box. I'm pleased that we got onto most of it, but the ones they got onto, the one was the goal, of course, and the others, I think the crossbar helped us once and the post helped us once or something, but generally, that side of it, we tried very hard to keep the ball out of our net, which was good, but we didn't try hard enough to put the ball in their net throughout the game.
And you said afterwards that maybe half your team weren't quite at it where you'd want them to be. What is it they've got to do other than put the ball in the back of the net?
Well, they've got to show commitment, and they've got to show a desire, and I think all our lads have got that in their heads, and in their heads they're not saying, I'm going to cheat here and not do much. But the way the game went, too many of them were doing nothing, and we're letting the game pass them by. And when that happens, you've just got to say, okay, I'm going to have to start putting in some challenges. I'm going to have to chase my fella. I'm going to have to run past him. And the times we ran past them were the times that we created opportunities and the goal. So it's a mindset, it really is. And as far as them saying, I'm going to get a grip of this game myself, and then hopefully others will follow. But I thought the defenders had to defend for their lives for long periods, and the strikers. I mean, Danny Wright had to win a few headers. Obviously, Pelly in midfield, and Asa, they had to win a few headers. But we didn't work hard enough to get up the other end often enough, and that was what the problem was.
James Dayton obviously came on at half-time, set up a goal. How much is he now pushing for a start?
Well, whenever he's fit, he's always pushing for a start. What he gives you is that ball retention. You know that if you can find him and give him the ball, then he can hold on to it for a little while. But he can also create things for you, and that's why we need him fit, and that's why we need him to help us go from one end to the other on occasions, and on occasions he's a little bit of ability to put people in like he did Harry Pell.
With so many away games at the moment, how important is it that you try and cash in at home and just sort of take advantage of not having to go anywhere on the bus for this match?
Yeah, I suppose if you get a result or two in the next couple of games, then you would class it as a good start. We're playing Doncaster and Crewe, of course. We ain't had an easy opening group of games, with Doncaster and Crewe having just come down from the first division, so they've still got many of their players that played at that level, albeit relegated. And Leighton Orient were the favourites, 2 difficult away games at Mansfield and Carlisle. Mansfield won their next home game, didn't they, against Yeovil, I think, on Tuesday night. So we've had some difficult games, but everybody at the moment is still working out who their best team is, what their best system is, etc., etc. And we're sort of no different at the moment, but the quicker we can do that, the better. But they're 2 good games at home. Very important, to answer your question, that you get your results at home, and that's what we'd be trying to do like we did all last year.
How's Dan Holman's foot this week?
I think it's still going to be touch and go whether he's going to be fit or not. So we're just waiting again. We're Thursday morning, so a couple of days more rest. He's out of the boot, as it were. That was only precautionary, stop it sort of bending and while it was recovering. So we seem to be talking about his foot more than anything else.
And Amari?
Amari should be okay. We'll assess him this morning in training, and then we'll see where he is. He's probably pretty close now. If there was a game today, I'm sure he'd be close to playing.
And everyone else okay?
Yeah, we're just Pelly took his knock on his shin. I listened to his interview. It made it look like I took him off against his will, but the physio saw a golf ball size. No, it wasn't a golf ball size. It was a tennis ball size. Hematoma on his shin, and that's dangerous. So, he's protecting the players as always. He didn't want to come off. Fair play to him, but physio thought it was the right thing to do, and that's why we did it. He wouldn't have been with the fella that scored anyway, because it was in general play, and he wouldn't have been that far back.
No sense, no feeling. Everyone else all right?
I didn't say that, Pelly. He said that. Yeah, everyone else is all right. Yeah, I think so. We'll know when Gav's had a look at them all. And from yesterday, I had no phone call from him to say that any lads had come in and were struggling. So it's just the ones we know about.
Thank you. Good luck.
No problem. Thank you.
Munsey back in the group then as well?
Oh yeah, Munsey's the only one. No, he won't be back in the group. But I just see Munsey like Downsy and Stodge. They're sort of long-termish. They're not available for selection for a little while now. At the moment.
Is that still the case? It's still weeks rather than days for Munsey?
I think so. Yeah.
Aside from him, then, but with Amari and Dan Holman and Dates now in the group, are you beginning to see the end of the injury problems? Do you think? Hopefully. Well,
it depends on whether Dan Holman comes through, and they do come through. But you just keep your fingers crossed that your players that you want out on the pitch are fit, and you need the numbers, especially when you're playing this Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. I know we keep saying it, but I can never believe why September can't be your Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday games, because players some of them have come, not ours, but have come back from internationals and so on and so forth, and you only get 6 weeks nowadays, especially for the lads that have been in the playoffs. And I just think it's too many games to play at the start of the season, but I'm not going to moan about it, and I'm not moaning about it now. I'm just saying it's just my opinion, for the welfare of players, because if you look across the country, there's a lot of injuries at the moment to a lot of players at all levels.
Doncaster had those problems pre-season. They had to cancel games during pre-season.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and there's a couple of other teams that had to cancel games as well. So it's just after a long, hard season, some of them need the break when actually you only get a break of 2 weeks, because then the clubs want them to start training again, so that they're ready to come in, because they end up playing their first games at the start of August. But starting the pre-season games at the start of July. So it's, in my day that wouldn't have happened. In fact, we didn't touch a ball for 6 weeks in my day, and then we started sort of working with the ball. But at least that gave you the grounding of your fitness in your body before you started smashing balls about.
You mentioned teams not yet sort of finalising a system and a formation and a tactics. Were you picking almost a team out of necessity of what's been left in the last couple of games because of the
I think you try and
numbers?
Put your round pegs in what you think are round holes at the time, and we knew we was going to be under a sort of bit of an aerial bombardment, and two of our strikers, Amari Mouldsmith, Dan Holman, they wasn't fit, so But whatever system you play, you need people putting themselves about. And unfortunately, they know who they are already because I've already picked them out, but I'll pick them out again and I'll show them what I was talking about when I show them the DVD. They all get individual videos of themselves, and you have to say to a few, look, you've travelled 6 hours up the motorway. Was it worth it for that amount of touches? I could have done that. I could have gone out there and got more touches. Russ definitely could have done that. So, it's that really where we say they're not meaning to do it, but it's just how their brains work sometimes, and we need to get them into fight mode when things ain't quite going well.
Yeah, a lot of people were quite surprised by your comments post-match on Tuesday, quite strong comments. Is that sort of a challenge that you're laying down? You're sort of physically or verbally saying to them, look, come on, time is running out, but you've got to start producing sooner rather than later.
Well, what I've tried to do ever since I've been here and at every club I've been at, you try and be honest, because although I am a good actor, I don't want to act. I want to say how I saw it and how I see it, and if I'm wrong later on, I'll say, look, yeah, I was wrong. And of course, people are going to have different opinions to me, but the proof's in the pudding later on as to how we fare. But I've got to be honest, because I don't want to be saying something publicly and not meaning it, and then telling the boys something else. I don't want them to get the wrong impression with what I say publicly, and then I want everybody to help them. I'm not trying to drag them down. I'm trying to help them, and as you say, I'm trying to get into them so much, because I always say you make them or break them, right? If we make them, you've got a team that's going to get very close. If you break them, they're not here long, and unfortunately you never hear from them again. But if you make them, they're forever in your debt. They go up a level, their money goes up, they can give their kid a bigger bike or a nicer bike, take their wives out to better restaurants and have better meals and just live but they've got to put in that effort required, because if you don't, you just end up and also ran for the rest of your career, and your kid grows up and says, Daddy, did you play many games in the Football League? Why have we got no money? Why are we, this, that and the other? Why did you not earn 20, 30, 40, 50 grand a week playing in the Championship or the Premiership? Do you know what I mean? That's really where it all is. So if they want it, they're all good enough to give it a right go.
As aside to that, are you now making plans for 2 weeks' time, for the next 2 weeks, in terms of people you may want to bring in if you feel you need to?
Yes. Listen, you always throw down gauntlets, don't you? Gauntlets, yeah, to the players, and you see how they react. My other clubs, they used to say, you throw in, that I always said that I throw in an hand grenade and see what happens when it all settles. And I'll see in training which ones of those have took it in the right way, because I don't think publicly I get into individuals as much, because I don't mention names necessarily, but they know who I'm talking about because I certainly let them know in the review and out there in training, and then we see how they react. I'm doing my best for them, even though some of them might not think that. Supporters might not think that, and they think, oh, he's been a bit strong. It was a good result at Carlisle. No, our standard, that weren't our standard at Carlisle, no way. So that's why we've got to lift it. And I've had a couple of sessions with you in here where even the chairman said to me the other day, that it was quite a strong interview with you, but we're over last year now. We've done that. Now the chairman don't want to sit back and relax and say, well, it don't matter if we don't win games. He wants to win games as well. So we need to get everybody in that professional mode to move on and see where this club can go. Let's see how far we can take it.
Just finally, is there money available in the budget if you wanted to add people in the next week and a half, 2 weeks?
I think there's help there, definitely. I think the chairman's said over the last few weeks, let us know if we need any help. But you have to be careful of the timing of all that, because if you bring in 5 players and then your 5 players that were your first team players get fit, what are you going to do then? You've got a full staff of too many. You've got too many people, and all of a sudden the camaraderie goes because it's too much competition and all that sort of thing. So we've got to get it right, and you get it right by really sorting out the wheat from the chaff. And I don't know which is wheat, which is chaff, but what I do know is you've got the ones that are going to do it, and then you've got the question mark over some of the others, and you just got to be honest with them and say, when it comes round to it, I'm ever so sorry I'm bringing someone in because I don't think you're going to crack it. All the best, good luck in the future, that sort of stuff, and that's how you have to do it.
Excellent.